I'm Robert Kudlow, and today on Metal Rules, we're speaking with Steve Lips Kudlow of Anvil for their 20th album release, due out on June 28th. It's called One and Only. Welcome, Lips. Great to have you.
Great to be had.
So 20 albums in, tell me about the importance of releasing new music and new albums out to the fans.
Well, you have to do that. We're not a pop band, so you gotta, the only way to stay relevant is by constantly filling the libraries.
Not many bands could do that. You know, like there's some of my favorites growing up in the 80s, like Motley Crue doesn't have 20, Rat doesn't have 20. So it's pretty incredible that you have kept it going.
Well, you know what? Because they don't have to.
That's true. I
That's
guess.
they don't have to. They don't have to. They're already famous, right?
I think we would have liked more albums from them, and we love the albums coming from you guys. So we do appreciate it as a fans. My introduction to you back in the 80s.
That's what you're doing it for. That's the whole point.
Right.
Doing it for fans. Yeah.
The first thing that struck me as I was listening to this album was it was primarily about the state of the world. Would you say it's a socially?
All of our albums are.
Yeah.
All of our albums are. Since the very, very beginning. They're all, whatever is going on at the time ends up on albums. I mean, you can, look at, go back to, just Pound for Pound, Senile King. It's about Ronald Reagan, right? Mm-hmm. It's just Strength of Steel, Paper General. It's about the Korean airliner that got shot down by the Russians. Yeah. There's every album has flavors and tingles of this or that. Pound for Pound had some interesting stuff like Corporate Preacher, which was about, we all know what that's about.
Yeah.
The Baker, that guy Baker, getting caught.
Yeah, with Tammy, right? Yeah, Tammy Faye's husband.
Tammy Faye's husband, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Baker, right? And yeah, the one girl, I forgot her name now. I don't even know if she's alive now. That's a long.
Yeah, but I mean, these were things in the environment at the time, and
yeah,
they somehow made it into the lyrics. It's just because they were things that were in the environment at the time. It's just the way that. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's a time capsule,
It's very creative to be able to pick up what's going on in the world, like almost like a newspaper to some degree, and turn it into a melodic song.
Sometimes it could be like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has nothing to do with anything,
Of course, right.
Sometimes they're very personal things. Certainly, Heartbroken was something that came from a tragedy from Robb's niece dying of COVID.
Oh, geez, sorry.
So, Robb's sister being basically destroyed by it. That she lost a child. It's one of the worst things that could ever happen. So and sometimes and these things make it into the lyrics because they're in my environment. And plain and simple.
My favorite one was World of Fools. Really enjoyed that one. That was great.
World of Fools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about to come out as a single.
It's great. It's a great song. And
it's a great song.
I love the fact too that every song is a great riff. I mean, it's memorable, and for me, and no disrespect, it's easy to play. I could hear it like the old Judas Priest. I could hear it. I could synthesize it, and then I could bring it to my fingers. And that's the same thing with your stuff, and that's always been that way. You never run out of creative ideas for writing songs.
Oh, no.
Are you guys
because it's endless. It's endless, man.
Yeah.
It really, really is endless. And it's only when you don't have an imagination that it ends. It's really very, very straightforward. You know, if you don't care, then you're never going to bother. It's never going to, you're never going to get much out of it if you don't care. And so far, I still care. So, you know, it's caring enough to sit down on in any spare time that I have and play and load my computer with new guitar riffs. It's super important. If you don't do that, then you don't care and nothing gets created. It doesn't happen by itself.
Well, believe it or not, a lot of artists, you know, that we were all fans of growing up, they're struggling now to write great riffs and great songs. And here you are, you know, you're just continuously pumping them out 20 albums later. And some bands still struggle to put out good stuff. And they're not riff oriented. You're like, what is that? You know, it's like overproduced, and it's
they're not imaginative, or their imagination is stinted by their
right,
maybe by their success.
right. I think that happens a lot of times.
Success has a funny way of making you and giving into human laziness, and if it's going to happen anyway, then you don't have to do. How much can I get out of things, and with the biggest payback?
Yeah,
without having to put fuck all in. That aspect.
I think bands too get locked into a box and a
Yeah, if you don't have to, I don't have to record for 5 fucking years. I'm not gonna write a song. I'm not gonna do shit for 5 years. Well, what a waste of 5 years, man.
It's true. It's very true. It's
you know,
true.
From my perspective, it's not about the money you make from your songs. It's about the songs.
It's great.
How many did you write in your lifetime? What did you get done in your lifetime? Is the biggest question, and the thing that is the most to strive for is how much can I get done,
right?
Rather than how much money can I make, because you can get to the point where money doesn't mean anything, like Mick Jagger. It's not about money.
Yeah,
you know, not really when it really comes down to it. But when you've got to find your happiness, what's fulfillment?
Right.
Well, fulfillment for me is being able to create a whole new album, and at some point that it ends up out there, that I was able to get it that far, that I went from thinking about it to making it into a reality and then getting it out there. That's success to me. The success is being able to do that. Yeah. And having done that 20 fucking times, I'd say that's pretty damn successful.
Speaking of Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, their new album, Cockney Diamonds, was killer. It's a great album. I think it's one of their best, I think. At 75 or however old he is, he was outstanding.
Yeah, and why are we surprised? Did Mick Jagger stop being Mick? Did Keith stop being Keith?
Nope.
They're who they are for a lifetime, and they're going to create music until their lifetime is over. And we should be celebrating that fact that it doesn't end anytime soon, rather than making jokes about it. And radio should be waking the fuck up and playing these albums by the old stars, because soon those old stars are going to be gone.
Right. And then in 20 years, they'll play the song that just came out now.
20 years from now, going, what was wrong with us?
Right.
Well, what's wrong with us is that we're in denial of our own aging. Everybody is. Everybody goes, look how old he looks. How old are you?
It's so true. It's so true.
The guy pointing his fingers, the guy's going bald, or the guy's got a gray beard. Look how old he is. Like, it's unbelievable. I just observing the world around me, and it's sometimes it's so it's actually really, really entertaining.
It is. You know, I really enjoyed the energy that you put on this album. I think it's great energy, and it's reminiscent throughout your entire career, and even to my introduction to the band with Metal on Metal. And I really found that to be refreshing that 28 albums in, you are still excited to make these, and it sounds like you're excited to make these. And that's wonderful. Do you always go in with the same level of exuberance and energy into every recording session?
Absolutely. I'm do it because I mean it. And I mean to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't haphazardly do this. It's always meant a hell of a lot to me. But the biggest differences are that in eventuality, you really get to know what you're doing. I mean, I'm laughing about it because it's not just knowing what you're doing, it's having the confidence to know what you're doing.
And I have to say too, the album was produced really well. It stacks up to anything out there nowadays, and your guitar tone was really, really full of bite, and I really enjoyed the guitar tone. Tell me, what was your setup? What do you, is that pretty standard for you?
No, I think that maybe what's actually finally happened in my career is that I'm getting recorded properly.
Yeah.
You know, and even the guys that I'm working with are perfecting and getting better at doing you're using the same stuff every time, but let's try this, maybe this, and then, ooh, what is that? Okay. You know, sometimes it's as simple as don't use that microphone, use that microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes don't put the mic there, put it there. Sometimes it's don't put the amp on the stack, put it on the floor. Some little nuances that can make a world of difference later. And sometimes you're not even sure why. But and sometimes it's plain, what the fuck are you playing, man?
Yeah.
What keys the songs are in, what tempos, what kind of songs they are, what kind of riffs they are. And that will change the whole complexion of an album and the production wise, especially feels and textures and keys, because those things are very, very, they're the things that you're going to notice that a producer has to be very aware of.
Right.
Because when you've got a resonant frequencies, let's say of a song that's in E, and now you're doing a song in, I don't know, in G, the EQing of the instruments is completely it turns into a slightly different thing, because they're playing in a different key. They're playing it in a different frequency. So the guitar is not going to sound the same playing a G chord as it does an E. They're two different chords. And thank goodness that there's a difference.
What do you use? What do you predominantly use? What amp and what guitar?
I've been using Fender amps my entire career. And I've been using well, actually it's interesting because I can show you a couple things.
Yeah. Let's
Since
see.
I'm right where I need to be, I can just quickly grab these. These are the most important aspects. Yeah. This is 1985
That's
Boss.
awesome.
Okay.
Yep.
These are about $200 to $300 if you can find one. Okay.
Yep, they're hard to find, the classic ones. What
yeah, the original ones that are actually made in Japan, not in Taiwan. that they have the original electronic parts, because they discontinued the parts that are in this,
Yep.
as well as in this one. This is the
Secret
this is
weapon.
pure magic. This baby right here, man. It's a
Nice.
Tokai distortion TDS one. I love this thing. I bought this because I wanted one.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I wanted one. I've got like 20 of these, but I want one of these, just so that, and it's the only actual compatible and comparable to the Tokai. And I think they use a lot of the same componentry,
Yeah.
right? Both discontinued. But what's really good about this, not very many people know.
Not now. Not until now.
Until now, not many people know about this, so they buy this one and spend $300 when you could get this for $100.
Yeah, I have my pedals that I fell in love with growing up, and they were stolen, lost, whatever the case may be. And now I go on, eBay to look them up, and they are worth like $300-400. I'm not paying $300-400 for a pedal. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, yes, you are, if that's what you need, because these
true.
things are it's like, actually they're in a certain sense that's more important than if you're using an SG, a Les Paul, a Stratocaster.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what guitar. You haven't got a good distortions unit. You haven't got a good sound. I don't care what guitar you use. Okay.
I would tend to agree. Yeah. Everybody's always chasing the tone. It's
Yeah,
trying the pedals to find something they like.
Well, that's a thing, but it's it's very personalized thing.
Yep, I agree.
Just because I like it doesn't mean you will.
No, that's true. That's true. Or it doesn't go with the sound of the band.
And it's interesting because, like, when I plug my guitar into somebody else's rig, I go and I adjust it and do everything that I can and try to get it as close to a can to what I'm accustomed to.
Right.
And it's actually fascinating that at the end of the day, I'm trying to make everything sound like my Tokai distortion, and some things you just can't.
Yeah, it's
but I
fascinating.
started using initially when in my earlier days, in very earliest days, I used a Fender Bassman amplifier. Mm-hmm. But what I did to create distortion is there used to be there is a company called Electro Harmonics, mm-hmm. and they created like a plug-in that went into the input, and then you plugged your guitar into that. It was like a little square box mm-hmm. that stuck out of your amp, and that was a linear LPB1, linear power booster.
Right.
And it was a clean overdrive into the amp. So you turn this up, and it was like, before amplifiers had master volumes and shit. What are you going to do? You got to make it distorted, so you overdrove the preamp, and that's how So I discovered that Fender amps were really, really good with pedals and plugins, right? And that's what I discovered about my Fender Bassman. And what happened was, of course, I started growing up and getting older, and I was playing bigger places, and I started going, this head it's not handling it. I need the real shit. Okay, time to get a Fender Twin. It's time to get the 100-watt system. Yeah. And even that wasn't enough. I ended up with 3 of them. So it's crazy. 300 watts of power. You don't even remotely need it. Yeah. And if I knew what I was doing when I was a kid, I could have gotten away with it with a 50-watt. I could have gotten away with it the Fender Bassman. Anyway, but that's all. There are different ways to acquire volume without, and it's actually quite fascinating. had I run my Fender Bassman clean, like instead of turning it to number 10, like
Yeah.
I used to, just ran it at number 3 and put a really good distortion pedal on it and turned the level up on it, I'd get the volume that that thing had at 8 or 9 with the amp at 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
It's all practice.
how are you going to know that? You don't know that
You don't know
until way later. So
Right.
anyway, but when I first got my Fender Twins, they had a little device called an ice cube. And this would plug into the in and out of the reverb. So you disconnect your reverb springs
Wow.
and just plug this coupler, and it looked like an acrylic ice cube. Okay. And it had 2 phono plugs that plugged into the female phono plugs where the reverb went, and it all it did was send it through this circuit, and it becomes your overdrive for your amp.
Wow. I never heard of it. I've never heard of
Yeah,
it.
well, this was something in the late 70s, early 80s that they had for Fender Twins.
Wow. Yeah, I never heard of that one.
So I used that for the first album, and I think the second album as well.
Metal. Huh. Wild. When I was a kid, I remember you in Kerrang magazine, and you were famous for the dildo.
Yeah, right.
Where did that even come about to bring a dildo into the playing?
It comes about in trying to be a one and only.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. What am I going to do that's going to make me known and separated from everybody else?
It worked.
I come up with some kind of ideas on how I can do it musically, how I can do it physically, how I can do it visually, in every possible manner that you can find your and create an identity. So I discovered as a child that an electric motor comes through, the sound of it come through your pickups.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was lucky enough that I started to play electric guitar as a 10-year-old, and I was still playing with batteryized dinky toys and shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're standing around at rehearsal one day, and we're going, okay, when we were first putting the what became Anvil together, we were originally called Lips after my nickname.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea, everything has to center around sex. Okay, being 19, 20 years old, that's all you think about anyway. So what the hell?
It's true, right? It wasn't even that hard to figure it out, right?
So it's like, what are we gonna do to demonstrate this? Is okay. Well, we got great ideas. We'll bring women's lingerie and hang them on the mic stands, and we'll have feather boas, and we had all the stuff. And then all of a sudden, I just got this instant. Wait a minute. I know. And there used to be a company called Consumers Distributing. And the way it worked is they had a catalog, and you look through the catalog, you find what you want in the catalog, and it's a serial number, and you go into the store and you fill out a little piece of paper and put the
I remember that store. Yes, I remember that store. Yes.
And they had vibrators for $2.99. I'm going, well, that's really cheap. This is going to be, and I don't have to get embarrassed. I'm not going into a sex store for it or anything. I'll just go in and get these. So I got, I don't know, about half a dozen of them, and that was the beginning of it. And of course, they weren't vari-speed, so that I didn't realize there was more to it than you could. When I first thought of this, there was obvious stuff. Oh, I could do bottleneck with it. Oh, the sound of the vibrator. Okay, great. it can do a couple things, but I never really gave it much at the very beginning, and it developed.
Yeah.
It developed into, okay, now I'm doing hammer-ons,
A technique.
that kind of thing. You're playing bottleneck. Yeah, and then it's like, okay, we got to get a very speed, because now I can go wow, wow, and it's like get the audience going, hey, you know, whatever. It's anyway, it turns into something that you use in a show, and something that can actually is musically being added. It's not just a gimmick. It's actually got a gimmick that does stuff, that works.
That's practical.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit practical. It's important to come up with individual things. You know, it's like, I'm at a show in Belgium. This is years ago, and it's a fairly big place, and they got a PA going, and we're playing away as normal, and all of a sudden the power goes out. So there's no PA and there's no lights, but you could still. Rob is still playing. My guitar is still working. Everything's working, except for the PA and the lights. But I'm coming into the last verse of Mothra. How am I going to sing without a microphone?
Right.
And it's like, oh shit. And I'm coming into the verse, and all of a sudden it just comes. I pick up my guitar and I start singing into the pickup. And that's when holy shit, man. You know, in an instant flash, now here's a whole new thing. And it's not just about singing, it's being able to communicate with the audience without your microphone, without a cordless microphone, without, you know, and for it to have some kind of significance and individuality. I'm talking to the audience through a pickup. So what that turned into is, of course, that developed into, well, I'm going to start the show in the crowd. And the way that I introduce the band is I can say, hello, it's Anvil, here we are, and I don't need a microphone, and I don't need to be on stage. I can be cordless and anywhere in the fucking building, okay? That's what it turned into. So these are only one person does this. That's me.
Did when a lot of people throwing vibrators and dildos on stage as you were playing in the early days?
No, but we've had people trying to steal it.
Oh.
Someone got up on the stage in Texas, man, of all places, and during the set, and stole the vibrator.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Right out of my amp. They went right up to my amp and stole it.
Oh my God.
Didn't realize what was going on. Someone was on the stage for a second or two. Okay, well, then I turn around. It's like, oh no. Yeah, well, we ended up getting it back.
That's good. You could have had a full marketing ploy. You could have made your own vibrators for the guitar, signed them, and had your own name on them, you know, and sold them.
Yeah, very obvious, but at the same time, so far it hasn't happened.
That's true. You know, I want to be respectful to your time. My last question for you is that I was, you know, thinking about the documentary that you guys did. And that was, it seemed like it was yesterday, but it was actually quite some time ago. It came out in 2008. That it's called Anvil, the story of Anvil. And you guys had a real serious uptake in popularity, and doors started to open for you. What was it like to get that support from so many?
Well, we went from the wherever we were somehow trudging along and able to keep a consistency in putting out albums, but what we really complained about most of all was not being able to play out enough.
Yeah.
And what that turned into day jobs. You have no fucking choice.
Right.
You know, if at least if we were playing gigs, you could make a living if we could get that far. But during the 90s and so forth, metal was as dead as a doornail. It's like, no, I don't think so. If you're doing, you know, if you're doing alternative, then we'll consider you.
Right.
What's alternative? It's it's anything but what you are. It's the
It's anything what I like.
Okay, you know, they're having record companies, hey, change your name, man. You'll have a better chance at it. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm going to another label. I'm not going to talk to you.
Right, right.
Obviously, we know where you're at. Yeah, that. What are you going to say? What am I going to say about that? Like, honestly, at this point, the whole ticket is to be able to continue unabated and tied down. That's the thing, and not tortured by having to make money.
Yeah.
You're better off. You have to be in the same state of mind that Mick Jagger is. I'm doing this because I love it.
Right.
He's made so much fucking money that money doesn't matter anymore. That's what you really want. So make your band be in a position where money doesn't matter. So in other words, you got to get to a certain plateau. If you can acquire that certain plateau where you have a fan base, it's a home run, man. You're done. I've been doing this for 45 fucking years because I've got a fan base.
That's great.
And it doesn't matter if it gets bigger or smaller. It's always paying for itself to exist. It's self-perpetuating.
That's awesome.
That's what Anvil has been, is a self-perpetuating band. But when the movie hit, it went from just self-perpetuating to now you're in demand. People want to see this band that they saw in the movie, and there's millions of people who want to see you, who have no other way to see you unless you go and play in their city, in a club near them. That's how you're going to do it. And son of a bitch, we haven't stopped fucking playing.
Awesome.
And being seen all over the world. And I'm making a living. I haven't been to Choice Children's Catering in 15 fucking years, and I'm fucking happy as pig in shit.
Well, that's awesome. And I know you have some tour dates coming up. I will see you in Pennsylvania, Sellersville. I'm going to come out to the show. It's about an hour or so away from
Great place. That's a great place.
Yeah, it's a great venue for a show. And
it was a great place to end up going to the hospital the last time I was there.
What happened? Was that for the heart condition?
Yeah, that's where it got discovered.
Wow.
On the Sellersville stage, putting my amp up, all of a sudden going, my heart's fucking going a million miles an hour. What the fuck's wrong with me? Holy fuck. And maybe if I lie down, I'm lying down. No, that's not helping. Fuck, take deep breaths. No, that's not helping. You know what? Call an ambulance. Maybe that'll help.
I didn't know that was in Sellersville that happened. Wow, that's awesome. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so the guy came, the paramedic came and gave me a shot. And that fixed me. Well, the second one did. The first one kind of did, but the second one is what finally fixed me.
Yeah.
But they had to take me into the hospital to put me under, to have a look at what was going on. And everything that paramedic and the doctor told me that day was everything that needed to happen. I had to get a procedure where they go into your heart with two wires and zap a couple of nerve endings that sets your heart, that was setting my heart off to go 180 beats a minute, which is gonna fucking kill you. So I had that procedure done, which is done while you're awake, so it's not that big of a deal. And these are all the things that the guy, you're going to have to go get this thing called an ablation. The guy tells me, they're going, oh, great. He goes, no, it's good news, man. No, it's no operation, man. It's just a procedure, but it'll fix you. I'm telling you, man. Can you do it today? Oh, no. There's a lineup for it. It's a what? goes, oh yeah, there's a lineup for it. This is so fucking common. You'd be blowing away.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when I got back to Canada, lineup, fuck, they told me I'd have to wait for a year to get the procedure.
Holy shit.
But what happened was I kept on getting reoccurring episodes. They had put me on medication to keep it under control, but they needed the real shit, which is the stuff that nasty. It's nasty because, and I'll explain why, because it's something that affects your autonomic nervous system. So it controls whether your heart goes into fibrillation or not, or whether it keeps a steady rhythm. So it's stuff that you're not aware of, but it's controlling it.
Right.
Well, in doing that, you get other
side effects.
Issues. Yeah, there's side effects. So now after the ablation, which happened 5 months ago, of course, I had touring, I had things to do, so I had to still continue taking this heavy drug, right? And just bloody awful. If you can watch, there's footage of me playing, and it's like you watch my hand is going, it's just fucking shaking, and that's the side effect of this fucking drug. It's not inhibiting my playing in any way, but when I'm going for the fretboard, my hand's vibrating on it. It's like I can't stop it from happening, right? Anyway, but it's finally, now I'm in my 3rd month, and apparently it takes 4 months for this stuff to dissipate, because it's such a heavy drug, man. It gets into all your system, all through your tissues, all through the fat in your on all your meat everywhere, that it absorbs it all through your body, and it takes 4 months for it to actually dissipate and go away. Now, having said that, that means I've had to wait until this stuff is dissipated to find out whether the ablation, the actual operation, worked.
Got it.
And so far, touch wood, everything is fine.
Good for you. I'm happy for you. It's good to have you back and to be healthy. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. So that's it, all of it in a nutshell. That's what I went through. So I'm okay. I've been okay. I went and did that tour. I played that night.
You came back after the hospital?
Yeah, I was only there for about an hour and a half, and then I came back and finished setting up and played the night.
You're a warrior. A metal warrior.
No big deal. Once they gave me the stuff that slowed my heart down, and they gave me, I guess, the heavy drug, the ammonadrone, right then, just to get me sorted. And of course, that lasted probably for about a week or two, but because I started getting fibrillation during the tour later, but because I was so new to it, I wasn't recognizing it as being of what I was actually experiencing.
Right.
Because you can function completely normally. It's just you have this odd feeling like something's not quite right, but you can't place it. And that's what was going on every once in a while, not all the time. Every once in a while, I'm going, I guess when I get home, I'll get checked out. And I went through the whole tour, but by the time I finished the tour, then I would really start then I really got bad fibrillation, really fucking bad.
Well, I'm glad you went.
I had to go to the hospital to get it sorted. It's just like you feel like complete shit and anxiety like you've never known.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm glad you're doing good though, and I'm glad you're back with the new album. It's killer. Great riffs, great songs, and I wish you the best with it.
Hey, I wrote it like I was never going to write another album.
I get it. Well, listen, Lips, thank you so much for your time today. Fascinating to talk to you, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thanks. That's
Bye-bye.
great. I'll see you out there.
See you there. Bye-bye.